to Aaron and his sons from among the children of Israel to do the service of the children of Israel and to make atonement. Okay, so Adam is the first human created in the image of Elohim. So he's type of a firstborn type thing, but I'm going to go through a list. It's a small list of people that came to my mind. Yahusha is called the second Adam. Yahusha came in the fullness of Elohim. Yahusha is called the only son of El. So in John 3:16 it says, for Elohim so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. That word begotten doesn't belong there. If you look in the Greek, it's not there. It says the only son of El. And one of the things that the Muslims have a problem is this word begotten, because it means like a physical birth. And it says Allah can't have a physical birth. So in a way they make a good point. So, but they're off. I mean, they think he's just a man, a special man, or a messenger, a prophet, a messenger. So, Eve was promised a son redeemer. Okay, in Genesis 3:15, there was that prophecy that out of her seed there would be one that would smite that serpent. And so she looked forward to that. So Eve's firstborn son, Cain, killed his brother Abel. Oh my, that didn't work. And Eve's third son, Seth, which means substitute. Isn't that something? So that's what she called him, a substitute for Cain. Because Cain didn't fulfill the firstborn requirements because of his anger towards Abel. Enoch, Methuselah, and Lamech were all firstborn. Noah, Shem, Terah, Abraham were all firstborn. And is that interesting? These are the stories of prominent patriarchs that we read. They are all firstborn. Abraham's firstborn is Ishmael. And this is where the whole Muslim narrative takes place, is from Ishmael. And Abraham recognizes Isaac as his firstborn. Isaac's firstborn is Esau. Esau sells his birthright to Jacob. Rebekah helps Jacob deceive Isaac in receiving the firstborn's blessing. So see how that firstborn was so prominent in their thinking and their worldview of how, or their God view of how the blessings are passed down through the firstborn. That even deceptive practices will work to justify their means. Jacob worked 7 years as a shepherd for Laban, Rebekah's brother. So Jacob was his uncle through his mother, who was deceptive. Remember that? Rebekah was deceptive, made Jacob deceptive. Well, she didn't make him. He chose to be deceptive. And now he's gone to work for Laban, who's of the same lineage of Rebekah. Do you think he might be deceptive? And so he works for him for 7 years to marry Rachel, who's the youngest. And Laban deceives Jacob, giving him Leah, the oldest. So Jacob should have actually married the oldest, but he married the youngest. Do you not think for 7 years that Jacob, oh my, what he did to his brother Esau, now it's coming back to haunt him through Laban, and Jacob, who was the younger, chooses the younger, but his uncle says, no, you need to choose the oldest. You see what's going on here? But Jacob says, okay, I love Rachel so much. 7 years is like 7 days to me. I'll do it. I'll do it for another. I'll work for you for another 7 years for Rachel. Jacob's firstborn with Leah is Reuben. Leah is not the one he loves. Reuben should have had the firstborn blessing, but then later on we read Reuben defiles Jacob's bed. Leah also has Simeon and Levi. So Rachel is barren and has her maid Bilhah to conceive. She wants a firstborn blessing through her maid, if any kind of thing to get that firstborn blessing. Bilhah's firstborn is Dan. then Naphtali. And Leah is barren and has her maid Zilpah to conceive. So for a long time, Leah has children, but then she becomes barren then, but she wants more children, so she has Zilpah. So Zilpah has a firstborn, and his name is Gad, and then he has Asher. Jacob's got a lot of firstborn sons to contend with here, doesn't he? No wonder there's strife at times in this family. Rachel trades Reuben's mandrakes. So Reuben was the actual firstborn. Rachel is barren, and I looked up mandrakes. Anybody know what those are? It's a flower found in the Middle East, and the roots of, I should have put a picture here, the roots of it looks like a body. So some people believe it's an aphrodisiac, or it has fertility powers in this herb if you eat the roots and the plant. So Rachel, so obviously these mandrakes, they understood the fertility ingredients in this particular plant, and Rachel trades Leah for these mandrakes for a night with Jacob. Then Leah conceives Issachar, and Leah conceives Zebulun, and Leah conceives Dinah, and Rachel still hadn't had any money. So that, you know, all the times we try to do things our own way, our own works, it always backfires. And oh man, that was a slap in the face to Rachel. She's still barren, but look at Leah, just starts conceiving. She's the one that should have conceived because she took the mandrakes, and it should have helped her with her fertility. And it didn't, until finally it does. Rachel finally conceives Joseph. Okay, so now Joseph is her firstborn, and Jacob, because he loved Rachel first, but he married Leah through trickery, he puts all the rights of the firstborn on Joseph, and all his brothers that had a right to the firstborn. This jealousy takes place in this family structure, and you can see how it all develops. So Joseph is her firstborn, and he became great, a great man, a type of Messiah. Pardon me?
Even Simeon and Levi, look what they did. You know, like they messed up their inheritance. So it just kept falling to the next and next. And I mean, it's pretty obvious he is a firstborn, and he didn't do those things.
No.
So.
And we know the story of how they conspired against Joseph. But then Joseph had mercy upon them when he was, the second-hand man in the Pharaoh of Egypt, and how he still loved his brothers, and he showed mercy upon them, and he took them in, even after all that he had to put up with them. So after that, Rachel conceives Benjamin, but dies in childbirth. What an end to a story, a tragedy of all these machinations. So then Rachel is buried in Bethlehem, where Messiah was born. Yeah, in the area of Bethlehem. I got a spelling mistake there. Joseph has Manasseh, his firstborn, then Ephraim. But Israel, his name is now Israel, it was Jacob. Israel acknowledges Ephraim and not Manasseh. What's going on here? The whole story is regarding who's going to be the firstborn. Aaron, the oldest, becomes high priest. Moses called to lead his brethren. So Aaron's the oldest. Why didn't he lead Israel out? But Aaron is the high priest. He's the oldest, so the priestly line of the family goes to the firstborn. Moses is called to lead his brethren. Hannah lends her firstborn, Linda, you brought that up, son Samuel for temple service. Doesn't say there was anything about, anyways. She did that. So in Matthew 1:23, behold, a virgin shall be with child and shall bring forth a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which being interpreted is El with us. Then Joseph, being raised from sleep, did as the angel of Yahuwah had bidden him, and took unto him his wife, and knew her not until she had brought forth her firstborn son, and called his name Yahusha. Are you listening? Are you seeing something here? What's going to happen with this firstborn son? Like I showed you the history of all the previous firstborn sons. It really didn't work. So, according to Torah, they would have had to bring their baby, their firstborn, to the temple and do what? Dedicate him, circumcise. What are we talking? What's my title been all week on this? Redeem him. They have to redeem him according to Torah. Yahusha fulfilled all of Torah. His parents had to take him to the temple priest, give him a shekel so that they can bring him home. If they didn't give him a shekel, like Hannah, they would have had to leave him under the tutelage of the Levitical priesthood.
I have a question though, but if Mary was from the tribe of Levi and Joseph, does he count? Like, if Mary's, how does that work?
I'm not going to get into all those little details. I just know he was the firstborn son.
If she's from the tribe of Levi, then he would have belonged to Levi anyway, just automatically. Yeah. So I don't know where Joseph is from, but I don't know if Joseph counts in this situation.
He adopted, and so there's all the heirs, the rights.
But who truly was he?
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
He was the first
yes,
of Elohim, okay? So, in Matthew 26:14, then one of the 12, called Judah Iscariot, went unto the chief priest, said unto them, what will ye give me, and I will deliver him unto you? And they covenanted with him for 30 pieces of silver. Where did they get the silver from? Where did the chief priests get the silver from? Where did the chief priests get the silver from?
The money they got from
The temple treasury. From one of the sources is the redemption of the firstborn money that was coming in continually for all the firstborn males that were brought and redeemed back to the family, and for their animal sacrifices. But that temple redemption money was used to betray. You had a hand up?
Yeah, yes. You mentioned he was the firstborn of the sheep of Yahweh. Was not Adam the firstborn?
Well,
The secondborn?
Adam he was called the first Adam. Yahusha is called the second Adam. So he came to fulfill and live a life that the first Adam failed, and he succeeded. Yahusha is the second Adam. Okay, so am I making this clear? The priests use the Pidyon Haben, the redemption money of the firstborn, to betray the firstborn son. So what are they doing here? What's this transaction? What is this transaction happening? What's it doing? Remember this list on the board I had of all the roles and titles? He's the lamb, he's the king, he's a teacher. What was one? Ron, you said yesterday there's one missing. Yeshua's priesthood. You're looking at me with blank faces.
Trying to discredit him as being a priest. You're kind of, because you're using the money that was paid to them for redeeming, and now paying off, like using that money to pay to Judah. It's being returned, so it's undoing.
yeah.
So if they return it, what is Yeshua? So who is he? Who in the Levitical hierarchy? John? Or he's a priest. They paid the money back. He becomes the priest.
Right. Yeah, that's just another truth. Yeah.
You follow? You still see some blank faces?
I think it's
So they're
He,
discrediting
he becomes the priest at this point. As soon as this redemption, Pidyon Haben money, is given back to Judas, who is kind of a leader of the disciples, and he was the treasurer. He had an important role. He's betraying him. He says, "Give me the money, and I'll give him back to you. I'll tell you where he is. You can come and take him." He becomes the priest.
I think it's interesting that he's the priest that's actually going to be put up on a stake and shed his blood, and that turns out to be blood money,
Yes.
right? That's blood
We're
money.
going to see that.
Yeah.
We're going to see that. Now, the only way Yahusha could die for me and be take my sins is for him to become a priest. He wasn't a priest until this moment. He become a priest. Then he's in the Garden of Gethsemane taking upon my sins upon himself. Those sins of the world were weighed down upon him. He becomes the sin bearer, just like I showed last week, how a priest bears the sin and brings it into the temple. Yeshua is now going to take the role of a priest, and when this incident happens, that's when he goes into the Garden of Gethsemane and takes upon him the sins of the world.
So do you think they were aware that
No,
priests,
not at
or is
all.
that maybe why he said they don't even know what they're doing?
This is to fulfill Scripture. He had to be a priest. But it's after the order of Melchizedek. Okay? We're going to see that. How's my time here? Oh my. Oh my. So if you're okay with a late breakfast, the cooks can stay. Yes.
This has cleared up a lot of questions that I've heard. When does Yahusha become the priest? And there's lots of different answers, and I've had the answers different myself from what I understood. This needs to be worked on and go on to C3. Covenant calendar.
Okay.
We need this.
Yes.
This is huge.
I know. Ron.
I thought that Yohanan was the last Melchizedek.
John the Baptist.
Yeah,
Yes.
He's saying he's the last
high priest.
because his father Zacharias was a priest working. He was officiating at the altar of incense, so definitely that would have made John the Baptist some kind of a priest, probably high priest.
Did the baptism have anything to do with this scenario?
No.
Like anointing him for this?
Yeah.
I thought that
So that list, I erased it, but he fulfilled all the roles of a lamb, like the sacrifice. He was a lamb of a king, of a teacher, but the priest is only dealing with sin. Okay. Now in his healings, he said, "Your sins are forgiven." You go. Only God can forgive sins. He was God. He could do it. But on the thing of a priest, there's a transaction that's made here, and it's the redemption money. They buy him back without even knowing it. And that from that time on, Judas sought opportunity to betray him.
This is really, really big, Jim.
Oh, I know. It's amazing. So here they are. Here's Judas having a contractual covenant deal with the chief priests, 30 pieces of silver. And he's debating, should I? And all that's on these guys' head is, we got to do it in secret, and we have to kill him. And they have a plan. You know, the chief priests, the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the scribes, they all came together. And, this is going to fit our plan. They take the redemption money and they give it back.
Excuse me, I'd love to share this with you, Joe. What was Jacob's brother's name?
Esau? Okay?
It's just a thought that
Oh, yeah. No, you follow it through to what the priest just did. Rory.
I just had a thought that might make these two fit. If uh, John the Baptist, at the baptism, transfers his authority as priest to Yeshua, and then the priest, by the return of the redemption fee, they have now transferred their authority to Yeshua. So John the Baptist, although Christ was a Levite anyway, John the Baptist gives him the authority of a Levite priest by transferring his authority, because John the Baptist was recognized as a Levite priest. Then the Sanhedrin transfers the authority of the Sanhedrin, the high priest, now goes to Christ.
Mm-hmm.
So they both work as a transference.
And then we're going to see another transference. What happens when one high priest talks to another high priest?
yes, but it's the one that
It's what?
when you tear the rope.
Yes. Yeah. Jeanette?
So within that whole priesthood, there could be many others that were not redeemed back, that grew up in the priesthood.
Yeah.
But we just assumed they were all a bloodline Levitical
A majority.
family.
99.999% of the people paid the temple redemption money to buy back their son. It goes on today. I'm going to show you. This is from the Chabad website. Chabad, I mentioned it a few times. It's the ultra-Orthodox Jewish Hasidic form of Judaism. So, Pidyon Haben, redemption of the firstborn. So here you see a baby in some plants. So today, in Judaism, when you have a firstborn, you take it to a rabbi, okay? You dress it up all really nice and fancy, and you pay just the firstborn male. Firstborn male, that's what Torah says. Oh, and some of them, it's only males that are allowed. So I've seen some pictures, there's a mixture. So there's different forms of beliefs on Judaism, and there's a liturgy, there's a reading. The very texts that I read in Hebrews 13 and Numbers 8 and whatnot are read, and the temple tax is given, the redemption money. So this is an instant where the father comes, here's my firstborn son, here's my money, I want to buy him back. So the priest asks him, the rabbi asks him questions, well, you sure you want to give him up? Like, he belongs to us, he belongs to Yahuwah. But yeah, I want him back. Okay, so give us the money. You can buy him back. It goes on every day in Judaism today. And then they have tradition. They have, yes, a silver plate. And they have all these jewels. And so all the women that come there, they take their earrings and their necklace and all their prized possessions. They shower it over the firstborn. They see the high significance of the firstborn. And this is a practice they do to this day. The Pidyon Haben, practice of the firstborn. Make them all pretty in a silver chalice. And they're buying this firstborn son back.
So what does that say about them spiritually, that they don't want to give up to God?
Well, I wouldn't want to give my firstborn son to I want to keep my firstborn son. It's not spiritually. It was a way to support the Levitical priesthood because they were so small in number, but they were going to officiate. So there's multiple meanings of it. So I don't know if I can answer your question with that. You're questioning there. If a father, are you questioning a father paying the redemption money? His spirituality is not in check because he doesn't give his firstborn son to the priesthood. Is that what you're saying?
There have been more people give their children to the priesthood. The priesthood itself would not have become inbred in one family. And we would have had more people like Samuel.
Yeah.
You know, more diversification, for lack of a better description.
Yeah, it's a good question.
How many of you women or fathers said, Heavenly Father, he's yours? That's the same thing.
That's what we need to do. Yes. Even now, we can still do it to my firstborn.
Just thought,
No, no,
Because Yeshua was,
no, that's something different altogether. This is a special ceremony for the firstborn son. So, firstborn son is considered holy and belongs to Yahuwah. The firstborn lamb offered as a sacrifice. The firstborn sons of Israel were to belong to the temple and priesthood to minister for Elohim. The firstborn sons could be redeemed back by the father. The firstborn son's redemption price was 5 shekels of silver coins. Temple priests paid Judas 30 pieces of silver from the temple treasury, or redemption coins, to buy back Yahusha, a firstborn son of Miriam, Mary, and Elohim. Transaction sets up Yahuwah's priestly ministry. A prophet speaks for Elohim to men. He's a teacher. And a priest speaks for man to Elohim. He's an intercessor. A king offers protection and prosperity to all its subjects. Transaction is called a betrayal by Yahusha. He immediately begins his priestly ministry by washing the disciples' feet. So remember at the meal, he says, Judas, do what you have to do. Go, get out. He knows he was going to betray him. And I think this is where he's okay, the guy's going to betray me. One of the roles of the priest is to wash. It's a cleansing. So here he's washing his disciples' feet. So the priest's daily routine began with washing. He proceeds to the Garden of Gethsemane to take away the sins of the world. Behold the Lamb. In Colossians 1:14, in whom, Yahusha, we have redemption through his blood, even the forgiveness of sins, who is the image of the invisible Elohim, the firstborn of all creation. Right there. Firstborn of all creation. For by him were all things created that are in heaven, that are in the earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers, all things were created by him and for him. And he is before all things, and by him all things consist. And he is the head of the body, the assembly, who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in all things he might have the preeminence. For it pleased the Father that in him should all fullness dwell, and having made peace through the blood of his cross, by him to reconcile all things unto himself. By him, I say, whether they be things in earth or things in heaven. And Hebrews 12 says, but ye, us, are come unto Mount Zion, unto the city of the living Elohim, the heavenly Jerusalem, and to an innumerable company of angels, to the general assembly and the assembly of the firstborn. Now this is transferred to us. All of us. We are all part of the general assembly of the firstborn, because Yahusha paid the price, became a priest. He's our high priest forever making intercession for us. We fall under his priesthood. We're all called to be priests, and we are part of that firstborn. Every one of us. No distinction of order, genealogy, blood, male, female, Jew, slave, born, unborn. We're all part of the firstborn, which are written in heaven, and to Yahuwah, the judge of all, and to the spirits of just men made perfect. In Galatians 3, it says, for ye are all the children of Yahuwah by faith in Messiah Yahusha. Remember Yahuwah in